Okay. Apparently, there we go. Apparently, we're live. So this is show number 4, but kind of, I don't know. We've had a few good conversations, but welcome everyone. We're together again.
That's it. And
Fantastic.
how many I'm losing track already of how many days we've been in. 1 day with the students. How's everything been for you?
Go ahead.
You want me to start? You want to start here? It's definitely been interesting, to say the least. All the concerns that we had going in and things that we've talked about leading up to these days, we're seeing it. Just kids in the classroom not feeling comfortable because of the fact that they've been at home this whole time, and just speaking with students, they're just saying, like, there's so many people. They're not used to the number of people that they're surrounded by. So it's definitely been interesting, but the other good part is that students have been coming to me already, so that they know that they have the support that they need. So that's the one positive to it. And of course, teachers who have been bringing students down who need help, that's also been a good part. But I mean, overall, it's going, and I hope that it gets better.
What do you feel are the top issues that you're dealing with?
A lot of anxiety, panic attacks, just being in the space with all the people. The expectations now, they're unsure of how to feel about what's expected of them now that they're in person. And again, just with not being in school, they're just trying to adjust. Again, 2 days in or a day in, they have no idea.
Is it do you think it's the health risk, or is it the masks? Is it the number of people, or is it a combination of everything?
It's a combination of everything. And the mask thing, I have to say that for the most part, kids have been doing a good job.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I've been walking down the hallways and seeing kids eating in the halls. So again, like, then masks are off and then people start to feel uncomfortable. But for the most part, I think it's being there with so many people, not even the mask aspect, just being surrounded by more people when they've just been at home with their families.
Right.
I'm finding myself having to be a little bit kind of in your face, no pun intended, with the masks. I have a few every day. Well, what, 2? No, they've been in for a couple of days now. So see, look, that's how crazy it is. I go in. I felt like 2 days ago we had a day to ourselves, just getting things ready, and then we had the students in today. But of course, it's been a couple days or so. So, but yeah, the same students, they wearing a mask across, and I'm like. So I'm like, I just point, and they know, and they're getting. I find that I'm just having to be a little bit more strict out of the gate to kind of lay the law down, and then after that, they're seem to be following suit. So it's all right. I'm just noticing I'm a little bit low. All right.
In your new role, have you seen any issues or had to deal with any issues with masks?
Not yet. And again, we just started out.
So for this is just so everyone, I think we have new people, disciplinary role.
Right. Hasn't really been an issue. But I will say one of the things I have noticed, because I've been working the buses at the end of the day, and it's not a discipline thing, but it's a surprising number of parents who are now driving and picking up students. One of the things that struck us about the incoming buses at the beginning of the day and the buses leaving at the end of the day, there's a tremendous amount of car traffic that we don't typically see in years before. I think that, I don't know whether it's the students or it's the parents that are a little bit more concerned about maybe not so much the classroom or the hallways, but the bus itself.
Yeah.
Definitely a big difference in students getting rides, to and from school, and I think it has a lot to do with the exposure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're at a school that has 4,000 kids, so it's obviously a lot, and there's only a couple of entrance and exit points, so that becomes more of an issue as well. But I do think you're right. It is more about the safety of being in the car and the comfort of, just from a parent perspective of dropping off their child, but that also really backs everybody up too.
Sure.
So then there's like the anxiety of being on time for a kid who's driving to school, not meeting up with their friends as they normally would, maybe before the school day and things like that. But I mean, from my perspective, the first couple of days have gone fairly well. I've seen a lot of good things, but I'm also looking more for the good things and trying to ignore some of the negative things. But for my students coming in, I have honor students, but there's been no issues with masks, no issues with really any kind of lates or any kind of excuses or anything, and really even negativity coming from their perspective. There's a lot of I'm being motivational and trying to let them know, like, I'm going to help them through all of these things, but also letting them know the standard's going to be high. So no matter where they're coming from, if they're coming from a general class or an honors class, if they feel like they've been prepared for my class or not, I'm going to get them all caught up, and I'm going to do everything I can. I use the metaphor of saying I'm like the trainer at the gym. I said, like, you all wrote yourselves letters explaining what you wanted to accomplish this year. My job is to help you accomplish those things. And many of those things are things that you personally can't overcome: procrastination, organization, because you just feel like you can't do it on your own. But I'm going to give you some of the tools to help you become more successful. And doing some psychological things, like I let them pick their own seats the first day. And I said, I just learned something about all of you based on where you sat. And in most of the classes, the best 2 front seats were empty. And I said, what do they say about students who sit in the front? Oh, they're smart. I said, is nobody smart in here? Like, I just jokingly around. And just the idea that, what are you here for? And is it, and as we discussed previously, it is about the grade, especially in the honors class. It is about the getting the A. And that's the important thing. And they're talking about where the expectation is in college, all these fears that they had, which we know about. But also just in the hallways, teachers just helping out, students walking through, other students helping out, just seeing the students in the hallway is great. I have a class I go into at one point in the day, and she has the students clean off the desks before my class goes in, and that's really nice. I thank the kids every day I walk in. I said, this is great, thank you very much. And I tell my students to thank them as well. Like, it's just little things that people are doing that are really like pick up my morale and just show you like the kindness that is existing, which is all a part of like SEL. Like, that's what it is. It's about having empathy and being aware and like being good to each other in a way, and having some of those life skills. And even it opens them up socially to say thank you. See teachers in the hallways entering their students, good morning. I
think that was a nice directive, that because our supervisor told us, look, we want you standing at the doors. And to be honest, that's something that for myself, I've been guilty of. Not guilty, it's just my focus wasn't on meeting the everyday students back to the class, and sometimes they will walk in and they're not acknowledged. They won't look up, they won't say anything. So meeting them at the door is that obligatory, albeit that it is obligatory, but they're getting a hello, they're getting a oh, I exist. So
it's not just the walk in the classroom, good morning. It's the individual. And I've even seen teachers who are new teachers who I think this is great, because it's obviously something they're bringing with them, because I don't see a lot of people doing it, but have the students line up in the hall, and as they walk in, they're trying to like guess the kid's name and don't tell me, and they're trying to get to know them right away, and showing how important each kid is to them by saying, hold on, let me get it, you're so and so, and you're sitting there, and just I think that really, and the kids in the hall aren't angry that they're waiting in a line. They're just kind of like, I'm waiting for my turn to be acknowledged, to be welcome to the class. And I also think the tone that a teacher has, or any staff member in the hallway, or even any student, really dictates whether or not someone's going to approach them. So I know a lot of freshmen and sophomores are walking through the hallways having never been in the school before, and I'll just be loud and say, hey, where are you going? Who's lost? And they'll come up to me, as opposed to somebody who's going, oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Like, if you have like a standoffish approach with the kids, they're not going to come up to you even though they need help. Yeah. Like, just be welcoming. Even though they can't see your face, like you're behind the mask, you could still use your voice and your inflection to be like, all right, who needs help? Where are you going? Like, I was walking kids through like that crazy F-wing log jam today, and I'm like, follow me, I can get you through.
Sure.
And I'm like,
follow me.
Yeah, and I'm telling the other kids, I'm like, you shouldn't have stopped here. You're not going to be able to go. I'm making this line go now. You guys are stuck. And just like joking with, you know what I mean? Have some fun.
The very fact that you've done that is just a good, solid SEL technique, right? Yeah. So you're giving them that the facial expressions, the happy response to let them know that it's okay to ask a question.
Yeah.
pretty much, I guess, the head of our department, Fernando Colon, graphic arts, graphic design teacher, he said, you know what, I'm going to give my students because we're trying to work closer this year because we got the same classes, different students, same years and what have you. But he said, you know what, this year for the seniors, what I'm going to do today, because we're still sorting out the technological issues, some can't access their computers, but this year has been absolutely incredible technology wise compared to years past. But he said, you know, I'm going to find out what their plans are for after school, and let's reverse engineer that. Where would you like to be in 3 months from now, 6 months from now? So we'll revisit this several months down the line. But I added my thing that I always like to ask, which is, do you have any big life questions? Only because it teases out of the ones that are really in pain, because no one wants to ask they're all embarrassed, you know, they're handing it in over Canvas. So this isn't something that you want to, some of them want to own up. So I was really happy that, you know, I got about 12 or so questions, anything from how do I rent or buy a house? Can I do everything I want while making a good business? Because I want to do many things. I want to try lots of things like welding, designing houses, arts and crafts. You know, just not your everyday. How do I get into a career without the full support of your parents? I mean, these are brilliant questions for the podcast, and I think one day we should just get a bunch of these and kind of go through them, and maybe line up some audio or video of people that have asked this already, or at least responded to it. You know, and deep stuff. Why did we all choose this world? Why did we all choose this life? You know, like, why is this? Why now? Why us? I mean, that's brilliant stuff. I love that. You know, I didn't think about that stuff till many years later. You know, 17, 18, that's
Socrates
crazy.
is in your class?
Yeah. If I don't have enough money for college, will making a small business help? What if I never get recognition and I invest in something that never kickstarts? So yeah, just I won't go through all of them, but just brilliant questions. And the best thing about this, the one student that I thought, here we go again, you're gonna be a crafty student, aren't you, this year, and not work to your potential. And I look at it when I was on stage just before the break, and I was talking to everyone. One of the things I said is that we don't, the reason for creating the website and the app Mellow and all the things that we're doing for the SEL is to give us a better understanding of some of the students that necessarily we think they're goofing off, or they're lazy, or they're not trying. And that's not it. Because one of the students, I was thinking, all right, are we back to square one, gave this beautiful question, short response to all the other questions, but it was a very thoughtful, and it completely changed my perspective on who he is, what he's about, and what's going on. You know, so I feel now, all right, there's an in.
Over there?
Yeah.
Dropped about
Hang on. There you go.
I don't even know how I get this back up.
The lever on the side.
Yeah, it's a standard chair.
But
I was like, I'm spinning. How do I stop myself from spinning? I just have to stop.
Yeah, you just put your legs on the floor.
but something silly, simple like that can just tease out some of the inner goings on of your student, just to know where they are, and so much revealed. I'm so happy that, you know, Fernando inspired me, and I just had that last little thing on, and you get the real responses. There was even one response in here, and I, all right, let's you know, you always get someone that you like, ooh, where did that come from? You got to just pay attention.
Yeah.
So but when we do it anonymously, that's when you get the good questions and the heavy stuff, and it's, you know, it's yeah, very interesting. Glad I did it.
Yeah, I have an assignment that's similar in the sense that it allows for creativity that I have actually due tonight. That we're going to talk about all day tomorrow, which is just a simple question of who am I, and it just says 100 words, no more than 100 words. That's all the assignment says. But I put it on Canvas where they can submit it as text, they can submit it as video, audio, and some of them are asking me questions like, what are you looking for? I said I gave you the directions.
Right.
Take whatever you want to do, and some of them have submitted already. And they've just written out, I am so and so, I am this age. Actually, the only rule I had was show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. I don't want you to tell me who you are. You want me to show me. So it could be anecdotal, it could be whatever, really, honestly. But I doubt anyone of the students are listening to me right now, so I don't have to give anything away with about an hour before it's due. But I told them this story, and I'll just tell you real quick about something I heard in college is I'd never forgotten. About the sense of creativity and how memorable things can be. About there was a class that was setting up for a final exam, and everybody was given those blue books, right? The blue books you get in college, and we have them in our school too. And they're all given a task, and they have 3 hours to write their response and just submit a response about an answer to the question. And the question was, what is courage? So they write their name, they write the teacher's name, they write the date, they open up the book, courage is, and they all start writing. Mm-hmm. And professors just get 3 hours. Take more blue books if you want, take your time. And it's about 25% of their grade. One student just writes down his name, he writes down the date, he writes down the class period, takes the book, takes a deep breath, walks up to the teacher, drops it on his desk, and walks out of the room. And I go, what do you think he got? They're like, an A. I said, yep, he got an A. I said, I'll show you courage. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to show you. And I said, just imagine that you're a student in that class, right? Going, and the thought process has to be, there is nothing I can write that is better than what that kid just did. Yep. And the kid is out of here in 2 minutes. And I have another 2 hours and 58 minutes to write an essay about what is courage. And I can't even do what he just did because that's not courage anymore. Right. So I just said, giving them this assignment and then telling them that story is to say, don't talk to people about what you're going to do. Just because if other people do what you're doing, it no longer is creative. Just show who you are, your creativity, your imagination, and it could be pictures. I mean, it could be an artistic drawing that they make. It could be an interpretive dance. It could be anything, really. Yeah. It could be a slideshow. It could be somebody else talking about them. Like, oh, this is my son is so and so. This is who he is. It could be anything, right? Yeah. So I'm really interested to see what they come up with. Just like you were, fascinated to see the responses.
But now I'm jealous because I'm like that is a fantastic, what a menagerie of stuff that you're going to be able to get out of a question like that. Yeah. And it really gets them. It tips that first domino, doesn't it? And who am I?
Yeah, and I want them to think not only about who they are, but how they can express it in their own unique way, because so often honor students, especially, are kind of wired to do what they're told. This is what I want you to do. Here's the model, because they're so fixated on how do I get the A? Show me how to get the A. Can you give me an example? Because I'm going to do the exact same thing you told me to do because I know that's going to work. Yeah. As opposed to kind of showing their sense of creativity and who they are and what they can bring to the table. Because I said English, which is the subject I'm teaching, is an art form. It's not a science. There's not one way to get there. There's a million ways to do something right. Yeah. And I want you to see that, because that's a great way to kind of get things started about, don't shy away from your opinion, your interpretation of things. Just like, try to figure out that there's multiple answers sometimes and they can be valid.
See, and that I'm also jealous of not being an English teacher, because the stuff that you're going to be able to reel out of them is going to be amazing. I can only top that maybe by asking them to express who they are with interpretive dance. Yeah. It's a very small room. It's going to be very impressive to see who does it.
Well, I'll be curious to see what your results are. I'm also curious to see how many students, how many young people or middle-aged people or guys my age would say, I don't know who I am, and how they express that, and how they express what they're up against as far as identity, and that uncertainty. And I wonder how many will be candid enough to say, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah,
as to what, and that's a genuine answer
yeah.
too.
No,
like,
I know,
like
and that's what I want to see.
answer.
I'm expecting some of them to say, "I can't explain who I am in 100 words," and that's okay, and that's the way they're thinking at the time, and that's fine. But it's also going to be interesting with a 100-word limit if they choose to write. What are they going to put in? What are they going to take out?
Right.
Like, and what do they put first? Am I a son? Am I a student? Am I a baker? Am I how do they identify? Like, what are the important things to them? Like, adults might say, I'm a father, I'm a teacher. They might use their profession, their relationship. They could use so many different things to define who they are. And it's just kind of interesting to see how they would prioritize that.
You know what's great about an assignment like that too is that there's no need, or there's no possibility even of copying off of someone
Right.
else. You're not calling your buddy and saying, look, what did you write down?
Yeah.
I'm
Who are you?
I'm you too.
I do have two identical twins, though. So they
Really?
could
Do
be
you
similar.
really? That's going to be interesting.
In the same exact class.
Yeah.
I said, how am I going to tell you apart? She's like, we have different color glasses. I'm like, man, that's nuanced. Like, it's like brown and dark brown. I'm like, that's helpful.
But some weeks ago, Dave, you actually said you were talking about, either you or Dan, but you were talking about students being engrossed all the time. Like, there's no letting go of this. There's no break. Every moment. I actually think it's the knowledge is there for anyone to know themselves. I think that step is understandable, but it's taking the time out to sit and just think and just be and just sit in a bit of solace and kind of find yourself. I think the hard part is to stop all of this and to start that. So I started segue. I started this morning. I got up at 4 and I couldn't start until 5, but I did an hour's meditation, and so it just felt so good and it's almost like I felt a serum of some sort running through my brain as I'm like, oh, there you go. And it was just bliss just to kind of let go. And I haven't done it for a couple of months, but you literally feel like different parts of your brain just going, it's just like calming down, another part calming down. And it's literally, I can only imagine that that's what doing something illegal is like. But it's a very good, when you do meditation for long enough, it's literally an off switch, and you forget whoever you are, and you're just kind of and not that we have to segueing
No,
back.
I think
segueing back.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think I think we should talk about like work-life balance, but go back to that idea. A question I would have, and I think other people would have, is like, how you're talking about waking up at 4 a.m, right? How do you bring yourself to wake up, to meditate, and combat the tiredness, I guess you could say?
It's when you do it and you do it right, and for years I was doing it wrong because I didn't know there was any other way. For me, I was told just to sit. I used to go to a meditation class years ago when I was single, and it was brilliant. Every other Thursday I would go, and I would call myself a meditator, but it's like every other Thursday, and I struggled for 20 minutes, didn't know what I was doing. Occasionally I'd give like one of those, or just very loosely kind of like look out, so I'm playing the game. But that type of meditation, sitting there in the sun, I can do that now, but it's very much like for me, I'm not religious in any way, but we recognize Christmas and Christmas morning. It's very much like a Thanksgiving or a Christmas morning. I can't wait to get up and do it because of what I feel like when I'm in it,
Right?
And how it makes me. You're tapping into something, and it's been through that's actually made me a lot more, dare I say it, spiritual in all the ways that might mean. So I've had truly mystical, like weird stuff, different show type of conversations, just one of them is I listen to a guy. I also make my own, but I listen to a guy, and he kind of walks you through these scenarios and relaxes certain parts of your body. But towards the end, it's a case that just I hate to use certain words because then you're kind of painted as this, that, and the other. But you're asking the universe for a sign that, you know, things are going smoothly or as they should. Even if they're not going well, you know they're going as they should, you know. And the number of times that literally like miracles have happened, and I was expecting that miracle, and sure enough it happened. But anyway, too deep. But I kept a big list.
No, I loved it.
I kept a very big list of all those weird. A cool one, right? And again, all of this could be written down to coincidence, and depending on your beliefs, yeah, absolutely, a coincidence. But it doesn't matter. But that's why my life is magic, because when I look at certain things, I'm like, it's not a coincidence, you know. It's you know, magic. So Thanksgiving, I finish a meditation in the morning. I had a great meditation, big old grin on my face, and you know, the only thing that was missing was a tree and a big hug. And I go outside and I see these two massive what are they? They're like turkey vultures, huge things. They're like dogs sitting on top of garbage cans around here, and they're just two. And I'm looking out, and it's a brisk day. I got a sweater on, you know, because you're just dressing up to stay warm. I look up, and I see these things. This is for effect now because this is getting real. So I look up and I see the birds flying, and I'm just there, and I'm still in this space, right? And I'm looking at them, and I'm an animal lover, and I'm just looking up and going, wow, look at you. You're beautiful. Look at you. Thank you. And they were like gliding, and, you know, and you just say thank you. Two of them, I get in my car, turn the car around. 20 seconds later, I get chills thinking about it now. 15 seconds later, 20 seconds later, there's no way to explain it. The whole sky, as far as I could see, was filled with hundreds and hundreds of these birds within 15 seconds.
Wow.
So yeah, we're surrounded by hills and stuff like that. But for me, this is a different podcast altogether right now. but and I was like, whoa, and I told my wife, I'm like, look. I just said thank you, and they're saying thank you back. But for me, when it happened, I just truly got a sense that was their response, and they were saying thank you in turn. As crazy as that sounds, yeah. But I don't need to justify that.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't care that anyone might.
Matter, right?
Yeah, it's just coincidence. That's fine as well. But you know, for me, inside, I feel like I know better. But that's just one incident that's happened just through meditation.
But just the fact that as you recall the story, you still say you get the chills. Like, I think that's great. I think that's one of those things that we should all be so lucky to have moments like that, regardless of what it is. And that's something that you didn't pay for,
no,
right? You didn't have to do anything. So often I think people get caught up in the expense of things. I have to spend a lot to be able to have these moments where I'll have the chills, but it's like the simplicity of it. And that's where the beauty comes from, and I think that's important. So keeping on the idea of work-life balance, you can kind of continue, Andrew, with what are your kind of ideas that go with that, and then we'll go, Alima, you can pick up from there.
Look, I mean, for me, it's I got a bunch of physical stuff going wrong for years, you know, diabetes, high blood pressure, all that stuff, and usually the summertime for me is a time for, all right, you know, you've been enjoying yourself for a while. Let's kind of cut back and just be more strict. Let's start going out for a walk. Let's start working out, you know, again. But this summer kind of escaped me, and I find myself now back at school not having looked after myself. And if I have another year like I had last year, I'm going to end up in a very bad place. So now I find myself back at school realizing that I need to be careful with what I eat, what I drink, making sure I get my exercise, making sure that, that mental taking care of myself each morning, that for me, that's the biggest one. That's paramount. That undoes so much. The blood pressure, even blood sugar, a little bit. But I'm on all the supplements that you can think of. I know my stuff. I've done a lot of research, and knowing your limits as well. But the key thing for me, the meditation, and my good old supervisor, not old, but I love Mark Case. He was a good supervisor for me, and I love our present supervisor as well. He's solid, but Mark would say, look, nothing ruffles your feathers, and I'd just be sat back and kind of, I deal with it. But that was because back then I was meditating every single day. And that's it for me. Another thing is the building, the creating, all this stuff. As long as I can get this in as well. I love teaching what I teach, because as I told my students today, I teach what I play with. I play with this stuff when I'm not in class. Yeah. This is a passion. And even today, I was showing just a few things. I'm blowing my horn right now. Stay tuned. Hold on to your chairs, everyone. One of the seniors looked up and said, "Wow, Mr. Jones, you're the coolest person I've ever met." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much, hon. Someone just said."
Like, say that one more time into this microphone.
Let me put on the where is it? There we go. Oh no, anyway, it's not working. But yeah, so that's why. There we go, the effects. So yeah, it's just you know what, it is the moments like that when you get appreciated for what you bring to it. It also helps when you get someone. Dan walked by the other day. He came in. He said, "Excuse me, kids." He said, "On the way home, buy a lottery ticket." He said, "Because with Mr. Jones, you just hit the jackpot."
And it really is true. I mean, it really is true. I think you sometimes have to point out to people when things are a lot better than they normally are. You could have gotten anybody as a teacher, and that's a lucky day for kids.
No, I'll tell you, it that meant a lot for me as well. Just having someone kind of come in and just a goofy little validation, but the reality is some teachers don't get that type of stuff. So I also understand where it's coming from. But yeah, it just stuff like that. And even I loved your announcement this morning over the what was it, 8 o'clock? What was it, 8:10?
Yeah, 8:10.
8:10. Just when you're saying, look, if you want to give a teacher or a student a shout out, I thought that was epic. And you took things into your hands, because quite a while ago it was asked, what would be a good thing to introduce to the school to kind of help lift people's spirits and give acknowledgement. And one of the things that my wife, where she works, Benjamin Moore, is they will have exactly that. They'll send out a congratulations or a shout out, and it's company wide. Like 500 people get this email, and it's just want to say what a great job Deanne Finnemore Jones is doing. She's gone above and beyond. She's never have to be asked to do and stay and do overtime, but she does what she needs to do. And there's so many teachers that deserve that shout out. You might get an email that looks like it's coming from me about Mr. Jones is quite a nice teacher. No,
from anonymous.
Yeah, anonymous. Artistic Brit.
I can't hear your announcements in my office. I don't have a speaker, so I can't hear you. I'm gonna have to go make sure that I'm in the hallway.
I can't hear from where I say them now, so I have to ask. Do you hear any of that? It's not in a room now.
No.
It doesn't have the
know
speaker.
it's being broadcast.
It's like, is anyone hearing this?
No.
But I actually thought of that yesterday to say that, because I said I've been thinking that for a while, like what else to raise morale, because that's always a constant battle in any school, really, especially during the pandemic and with students coming back and teachers. And, but I just said, if I have 178 more days to do announcements, I could fit in a bunch of these things real quick, and I have no problem doing that. And again, like you said, it's quick, but it'll make that person's day. It'll be
Oh.
topic of conversation. It could be broader. It's such a simple thing that I I could do for other people, but I don't want to be like the only, because I don't know everybody. We have so many
Right.
staff members, but they could just email me or put it into something, and that was just something I'm just doing. Like there was not many announcements since the beginning of the school year, so I'm just putting that in there. But
No, that's solid, and I think that's a fantastic way, because look, there's a lot of teachers that are prideful and they don't want the acknowledgement. But I'll tell you what, if you said something, they'd be chuffed. They'd
Yeah.
be real happy with it. So
Yeah.
Also, I think it's good for the community, our community of students, to know that there are teachers that have a lot of goodwill towards each other, respect, a camaraderie. I used to always love it when one of my colleagues came into my class. I never saw it as an interruption. It was always a chance to have a little fun.
Yeah.
A few laughs.
Yeah.
If you ever get this guy,
Yeah,
oh my God.
no, I
you
love
really
it.
want to know.
You would come into my class
You know.
last year and you're talking to my students, and they love that. They're just like, that guy's a character, and it makes us human.
Yes,
and
I think so.
even Bobby D, God rest his soul, I love the man. He would come in and he would be dancing or singing, and he'd be like, "What is this guy teaching you?" And they wouldn't know how to take him because he's a senior teacher, so he comes into my junior. He's like, "Is this guy teaching you anything in here?" And they're like, and he's just like, "I'm messing with you." Like, and when I would walk into his class, he'd have his class like mockingly clap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like embarrassing. You're kind of like, "Thank you," but like, I know you're mocking me.
No, it's great to have another teacher come in and almost, I know when I do, I go in almost to testify. Like, this guy,
Yeah,
this girl, you got the right one.
yeah,
Do yourself a favor,
That's it.
really.
That's
yeah.
it. And the first couple of days, I know we're kind of getting a little bit off topic, but the first couple of days for all my classes, I have a digital media class first period, and then sophomores graphic design, and then in the afternoons I have my seniors graphic design. But all of them is kind of laying down that foundation of, look, this is where you can take things. It's just exciting them. It's connecting the dots, showing them, look, this is what you're going to be able to do with this knowledge that I'm going to give to you. It doesn't matter if you hate this subject. Look at the cool stuff. So connecting the dots, showing them. Today I was showing them the illuminated, like behind me I got an illuminated sign. I had half the class come up to me, "Mr. Jones, are we going to make an illuminated sign?" They want to do it, but I told them, I said, how many in your area are making signs for like local stores? I said, here's one. I said, make these signs for the rear of a car. I said, imagine like the rear window imagine how cool that would look. But just kind of sparking ideas. So I threw out 3 or 4 things that we're going to do, and they're fired up, and that's what I wanted. But what do you do, Dan? For like, if you're trying to chill, if you're trying to handle the pressures, you're in a high pressure position right now, potentially.
Right.
What do you envision yourself? What did you do in the past, and how might that change?
For me, it's always every morning I have put like kind of a bulleted list. Even if I don't write it down, I need to know that I got to get this, that, and the other thing done. But part of this, that, and the other thing is not just work. I have to have something else to say that I'm better than I was yesterday. And I've been teaching myself Italian. Don't quiz me, but no, I think of myself, or I know Alima goes to the gym all the time, and sometimes it is the gym. It's this idea that I need to know that however the day goes, whether it's going to be a good day or a bad day, I need to be able to be assured that I'm going to have something else that I'm interested in. There's something else that's going to be a little bit better, even just for myself, than I was yesterday. I know a little bit more of this language, or I got a little bit more exercise in, or maybe I go for a run and it's a little bit better than I normally do. Just something to look forward to. And I think you have to have, we talk about that life balance. You have to have that, something else that you're interested in. Just as almost like an insurance policy for the day.
Yeah.
So if things go really poorly at work, if there's an issue at work.
It's nice to have a passion. Maybe if you do have a passion outside that helps to offset the balance.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of students don't realize. used to drive me nuts. It used to drive me crazy when, like, for instance, I would ask students to draw something. Okay, I would like you to draw something, and I hear the answer, I can't draw. No, everybody can draw. If you can hold a pencil, you can draw. You might not draw the way you'd like to draw.
Right.
You might not be as good as maybe the person next to you, but does it matter? You know what I mean? Does it matter? You draw for yourself, and you're hoping the next drawing will be a little bit better than that one was, and it's all about just honing your own skills and finding something else you can get involved in. I think that, in fact, I know I read this. People that are bored are people that don't have any goals. You're not working on anything. You're not working on something, and you need something to be working on, to be looking forward to. And if it's not school, if it's not work, you got to have something.
I think it's good, though, to go through periods of boredom, because ultimately that boredom kind of builds up. And it's, all right, I got to do something, and it kind of, and then you're over the edge and you're off to do something new.
It could go the other way, though. Like, the boredom leads to you just digging yourself into a hole because you're like, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot, even with, like, students. It's like they don't know what else they can do for themselves. They're out of ideas of things that they can get into or try that's new for them. But
it could also be when they're just, perusing the internet because they're bored, and then they just fill the time, and then when they talk to their peers and they're doing the same thing, they just think that's normal. Like that this is just what we do.
It's okay to spend a certain amount of time being bored. You're bored.
But they don't look at it as being quote unquote bored. Like, they are bored, but they're almost trying to convince themselves that they're not, because they're acting like they're doing something productive, because they're actually doing something like scrolling through their phone, but it's not productive. There's no point of it. It's just almost like I'm scratching an itch, but it's like, what did you just do? What was the purpose? So
you're not any better at anything than you were the day before.
Right. That's my point.
They're just as good at going through Instagram as you were
they're in the
yesterday,
hamster wheel. They're just
or
in the
tomorrow,
hamster wheel.
or a week from tomorrow. Yeah, I think you're making a great point. I think that's a big part of it. You have to have a sense of even the smallest accomplishment. I mean, I see you with the woodworking and the crafts and all this stuff you're always working on. There's got to be a tremendous amount of satisfaction there.
There is. I mean, I think growing up, it's been probably a lot of our lives are the way they are because it's been modeled for us by those before us. So, my dad, my mum's dad, these are individuals that I would watch build or make anything and everything.
So what do you do if you come from a background where you didn't have people like that modeling those things for you? What would be your advice for somebody who says, yeah, well, my dad never did that, or my mom never got involved in that, or never encouraged me to do the arts and crafts thing or be creative?
I think that one of the best things you can do, and there's a guy that I follow who's called Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Some people have kind of pulled some punches with him over the years, just saying, he's not all that. He does like to swear quite a bit. So it's not something that I can play in class that often. Towards the end of the year, I might say, I want to play you a video if you're not okay with a lot of swearing. But I said there's some very important messages in this stuff. So I just want to, you're all old enough, but if you'd rather me not play it, I'm totally fine. I'll just send out the link. And invariably they all end up watching it. But I've taken that advice now to be the advice that I give all my kids, and then I add my little flavor to it. But, with other ideas and what have you. But one of the questions I had in here is, what are you going to do? What do I do if I don't know what it is I want to do? And am I going to be able to get into this line of work if I've never even done this line of work up till now? And Vaynerchuk would say, you're young up until your early 40s. So I would strongly recommend you doing anything and everything that you feel it might check off a box in some way, and see if you like it. And at least if just do as much as you can, and eventually you're going to find a bunch of things. I also think that, back to that old kind of fate and woo-woo stuff, I think that all of that at some point kicks in, and you end up where you need to be, be it for yourself or someone else, but then it kind of, you end up being there for yourself anyway, and you grow. And even the tough times in life, it's all there for a purpose. And someone said, does life get any easier? And I said, kind of. I mean, life potentially, you could definitely look at it and say life gets much harder. But what happens is we all get a lot more able to handle those moments and keep them in perspective and roll with the blows and lean into the curves, and and just we handle it much better, to a point that even though they are much harder than we would calculate them to be at the age of 16, we look at it at the 45, 55, 56 and almost 57. I'll give you my address to send the cards. And it's just, we end up handling all those big life situations, and in retrospect we look back and we're like, what was I even worried about in the first place? But I think having a good having a good way to take care of those stresses and deal with the things that come at us each day. Dave,
I want to hear from Alima. I want to hear what Alima's schedule is.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I've actually been struggling a little bit with this work-life balance thing now that I'm a mom.
With the baby, right?
Now that I'm a mom, I'm like, wait, where do I fit in? Right. Who am I? Going back to that whole identity thing. I was used to just being, a coach and a wife, but now I'm like,
even
I'm
as
a
a
mom.
couple, I mean, after you have a baby, as a couple, do you guys just say, like, what did we do with all of our time when we didn't have a baby? I mean, all this time we're spending with the baby.
Like, what else did we do? It's exactly it. And today was the first time that we took him to daycare. All the feels. I had all the feels this morning, but it was like, again, I didn't go to the gym this morning, which is normally my thing, because I was like, I need to make sure we have enough time together before I take him to daycare, right? So usually my outlet is going to the gym. I like to write a little bit, listen to music, and even like test up on some clinical stuff. I like to read a lot about what's going on with like LGBTQ youth and like just to help like our kids, because that's really important to them. And just staying on top of that stuff. That's usually what I do, just to like unwind. And then spending time with my mom when she comes up. That's usually something else that
terrific.
really helps out.
Yeah, look, and because of that, I really appreciate this. I can't even imagine through all of that as well. And then it's like, well, I got to go out and do this podcast, in the middle of it all. So you're wearing a lot of hats right now. So I appreciate you being here.
Happy to be here, though.
Yeah. No.
And if you have to bring Leo here, I'm sure we got a spot
You
for
would
him.
love him, but,
give him a
but
mic
on the
he's in
couch.
bed. So what about you, Dave?
Well, I think the key is having like a schedule. I think, as you said, Danny, you have to. I think that's why a lot of people are like excited to be back at school, students and teachers included. Many of them just because it's the routine. You wake up at the same time. You could do the same thing, and for me, I just find that I'll wake up at 6, I'll get to school by 7, and I go through the whole school day, and I'll just have my routine, and I make sure my routine is productive. To get to your point, Dan, about like I'm better today than I was, or I'm as prepared, I'm the best teacher I could have been today, and things like that. So, I'll go through my schedule, I'll go through my classes. I have one period that I use as one of my breaks where I just talk. I just talk with a friend of mine at school, and we just talk about whatever, and it could be complaining, it could be sports, it could be whatever, but we're not doing any work. So it's literally just 40 minutes of just fun, laughing, complaining, whatever, but it's just a decompression. And then I'm back to work. I'm doing everything I can. I get the work done during my other prep times. I'm thinking about lessons for the next day, whatever. I get home today. I was able to pick up my daughter from her first day of first grade, which was great. Getting to see where her classroom was. She ran out and everything. Took her to go get a Slurpee because we always get
nice
Slurpees,
treat.
and I love Slurpees. And she loves Slurpees, so we went to go get a Slurpee. Ran into one of my old former students who I had 17 years ago.
Wow.
And I was so happy to see him. I gave him a big hug. We were talking for a bit, but that's not going to be every day. But the point is that, then I spend time with my kids, and then I'll have dinner, talk to my wife. And then at night, my wife and I will watch TV together. We'll find shows to watch. I'll always, around the time my kids go to get ready for bed, I'll do an hour or 45 minutes or so on the exercise bike for a little bit. That's my time to watch something on TV while I'm exercising a little bit. I go 1 mile per hour because I'm just watching TV. Yep. But I sweat anyway, just because I'm not eating, but I'm going pretty slow. I mean, no one's yelling at me. I don't have one of those bikes,
What a Peloton commercial.
Yeah. Nobody's going, come on, man. Yeah. I'm just watching the Yankees lose again. But just the idea of that routine. And then soon I'll have my basement done where I could work out down there and my kids could be playing down there. So it's all about creating a routine is for me. And that it has a mixture of being the best teacher, being the best father I can be, being the best husband I can be, spending time in all these areas, but not to the point where I feel like any one of those areas is being neglected.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm able to do that, and I schedule them in, really, kind of in a way. I know that fifth period every day I'm hanging out. And I know that when I get home, it's time with my kids. And I know at 9 o'clock, I'm going to watch TV with my wife. Having that set time and then falling asleep and then doing it over again, I'm happy with that day. I'm good. As much as you might say that gets boring or repetitive or whatever, I'm good with that. And then the weekends can be different and I can sleep a little more, spend more time with my kids and less time work. But just the concept of saying, when people go, I'm so stressed out because you got to find a way. And I cut out coaching when I had kids because I was I can't add another hat. You know what I mean? And I'm if I have to make a choice, it's got to be my kids. And I don't want to have any regrets about that. So it's more of the idea of just saying to yourself, what am I passionate about? What do I really enjoy? Who do I want to be? Getting to the identity question. And then fitting it into your schedule, doing it. Yeah. Just actually dedicating yourself to doing it and surrounding yourself with people who will enable you to do it. You have a wife that helps and supports what you're doing. We all have spouses who help us and support us in our endeavors and our interests and in when we speak. I need an hour on the bike. Is that okay? My wife always, that's fine. I'll get them set up and then I'll go read to them, whatever. But you have to have that. Yeah. And if you don't, you have to try to work towards it.
But it's funny though, even though I don't know each of your situations, but just if I was to, I'm pretty sure that if we were to turn the tables, they could also say that we support them just as much, and I know my wife would say that. She does say it all the time, and we're very grateful for each other. But what's funny is what I like about the dynamic of all of us at the table is that there's me talking about all these weird woo-woo things and what have you, and my wife's biggest issue right now, and she's really felt out of sorts with just going back to work and new schedule, is the schedule. It's the routine, and she's brought that up over and over again. And that is, getting down to brass tacks, that is the one thing I can tell you what my routine is throughout the day. Just like you, I have that time where I'll go and hang out and talk and discuss a few things. It might be planning about the week ahead or what have you, but when I come home, we got our own time to do things, and then we sit down and we'll watch a couple of goofy shows. Recently we've just started watching Instagram reels for the 20 minutes before bed because we're dying with laughter. And it just so really we don't care as long as we're together, but that's our routine, you know. So but yeah, I'm damn it, you hit a nail on the head again.
But I think that's part of it, is to say nobody can tell you how you should be spending your time and what you should and shouldn't be doing. Like I always, my friends and I, and I'm very close friends with my high school friends still. You know, we graduated in 2000, but we go on trips almost annually, and then our kids hang out sometimes and things like that. But, you know, we go to different places for like 3-4 days. Like we went to Chicago this summer. But that, for me, if we set up a trip next summer, let's say, or next May or whatever it is for a couple of days, I'll look forward to that. Like you said, nothing's better when you're looking for, like Willie Loman style. Like nothing makes me happier when looking forward to it. Same thing with my family. We're going somewhere. We're gonna set up a trip. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go there. So you dangle that carrot in the long term.
I love carrots.
That's something that you're gonna go. Okay. Good for your sight. I'm losing mine. But you know, you dangle that carrot in the long term periphery, and then you have the ones that are the short term that I have. Like I'm taking my son to go to a car show this week, and I know he's gonna be fired up. He loves it. Like, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Do you have a
Where's my
problem with a
water?
car show?
I'm all right. You didn't ask me to go. I'm very upset.
But just the idea that like you have those little things in between that you go, I'm really looking forward to this. So scheduling things, and I know it is about, some people don't want to be so regimented with their life, and they want to be more spontaneous. And of course you could still be spontaneous, but having something that you could look at and say, because too often I feel people just get stuck in a routine where they're not doing things that they want to do, and they keep putting things off that they want to do, as if I don't have time for it, or I can't get to that. I would really want to have more time to paint, but I don't have any time to do it. You have to make time if it's that important.
But some of us also, you know, I've done it on occasion, but I also see it in others. We wear that as a badge of, we're half complaining, being a martyr, you know, and look after yourself. Look after yourself. You know, we got to take that time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I get back into that whole self-reflection. It's kind of like, I think what I was getting at earlier was you have to take regular inventory of yourself, and even if it's just a couple of minutes, you know, inventory of your day, inventory of. It was funny because before, I thought when you said you can't neglect things, I thought you were going to follow that up with, you also can't overdo any part of your life.
Yeah.
You know, I got a buddy of mine who's a very successful chef, and I regret to say that. He got to a point where he just got too deep into the whole business, into the responsibilities and the pursuit of making the business bigger and better. And, you know, maybe that's where your partner has to kind of help manage you and say, you got to call time out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so, which is another brilliant aspect of all of this, is just make sure you surround yourself with the right people. Sometimes that means I step away from certain people during the day. I don't dislike them. It's just, you know, they're literally, their vibe, their energy just kind of drives you nuts a little bit, and you just gotta you know, set that distance. Look, it's a normal school year is tough enough, let alone during, everyone's back, everyone's kind of freaking out. I'm even freaking out a little bit, and you do, right? Everyone, we're back. I don't want to, you know, get sick or what have you. There, I said it. Great. But you know, it's not something I worry about all the time, but my when you get a student that kind of leaves and they're going down to the nurse, and you're going, oh, what are they going down to? They were sat like 6 feet away. You know, it's a whole new world that we're dealing with. So look, it's, I think all we can do is just to help others around us, is just to be a bright as light as possible, to be bright and cheery. And do you know what they found? And this is, I don't know if this is going to be a cap on the whole subject, but there was a survey, not a survey, some sort of study that was out, and they found one of the biggest contributing factors to a negative outcome of COVID is the person's pessimistic or optimistic outlook on life. That was the biggest contributing factor, possibly bigger than being overweight, you know, diabetes and some of that stuff. Attitude, number one. That's crazy, isn't it?
It's believable, though. It really is. You know, if you've ever read I read a book and now I have to tell everybody about it. That'd be.
You did that, but like the camera's on you, and people are going in the comments. People are going to be saying, "Oh yeah, he said."
I know what it means. Exactly. No, Man's Search. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and one of my big takeaways from that was he explained that in the concentration camp, the people who had just you could tell who was going to die next. It was the people who had just given up, who just given up all hope emotionally. They just went downhill physically, and I gotta believe that that still applies to humans in other situations, and maybe in the COVID situation, if you've got a negative outlook on life and you're all doom and gloom. I don't think it's a good thing for you physically.
I think that goes back to our kids right now, being in school and being back and being in the mix of things and needing them to understand that being here and being together is a good thing. I don't know how many times I've said that so far this week. Like, being here is a good thing, even though you don't feel that way because you're not used to being here. But step out of your comfort zone and enjoy being in the presence of other people, which is something that you've been lacking. So...
What do you tell them as far as, like, because I've had students this week who've written, not said, but they've written down that they want to be more outgoing and assertive. And do you have any advice? Like, what would you say from your perspective on how they can do that, like a student?
As far as being a student in school right now, being outgoing?
Yeah, like how to in the beginning of the year get them out of that typical behavior of just being shy and reserved in class, because they do, like, a lot of them say, I want to be talkative, I want to be a participant, but my nature is to be shy and reserved.
And this is going to sound awful. I sound like a Nike commercial. Just do it. Right. But no, seriously, like I've had that conversation with people. Somebody came and they were like, oh, I'm in this AP class. I can't take this AP class. I was just there. I didn't know any of the answers from the first day. And I'm like, it's the first day. You'll be okay. Second day she comes, first thing in the morning, she's like, I really don't want to go to this class. I'm like, why? I have a quiz today. I'm like, how about you go take the quiz and then you come talk to me, tomorrow. She emails me. She goes, I got a 20 out of a 20. I think I want to stay in this class. Right. So again, just thinking about, like, getting them to accept the same thing. I'm going to be better tomorrow. Like, I need to get through today. What can I do to be better for tomorrow? Even if it's just raising your hand, telling yourself you need to raise your hand once in every class. Try to respond to something once every day in every class and give some type of feedback or input, because that'll just get you going. It'll make you talk to more people.
See, now you got me thinking. I mean,
that's going to be your T-shirt. By the way, now you got me thinking,
because I normally don't think, but you got me thinking. No, it's. I guess it's probably wise to have short-term and long-term goals, and I think that you got to be careful if you're a student, and what you were saying, Dave, before about the AP, and I'm thinking college, and I'm thinking med school, and you get so hung up on these long-term goals, right? That you're not, like you were saying, Alima, just dealing with stuff one day at a time. Okay, look, the long-term goal is, long term. The short term goal is getting through this quiz. And let's just deal with that, right? I don't have to talk about medical school just yet. Let's see how the AP quiz goes.
I always tell them that when I use, like, the weight loss thing. It's like, if someone goes, I need to lose 50 pounds. It's like, no, just lose one.
Right.
And now that's manageable. Like, if you have it in your mind, you have to lose 50 pounds, you're going to go, I can't start that. How do I start that? But if you say, can you lose 1 pound by tomorrow or by the end of the week? Yeah, I can do that.
Well, how many
go, all right, now lose another one. Like, it's just, if you break it down to manageable bites, then it becomes much more, it's easier. Like, it's just, and we just have to get people in general, and especially our students, to kind of understand it. Because I'm constantly thinking, what do I need to do to get them involved? Do I just call on them? Do I just wait forever until they, how do I... Like, I was thinking today about different things to do, as far as, like, if a student got a good grade, have some kind of game where they can be interactive, have it more fun. Like, I'm trying to think of ways in the beginning of the year to get them to be more outgoing, because then they're more likely to stay on that path, as opposed to get through the first couple weeks. 3 kids are talking and the other 18 are just sitting there saying, oh, I don't have to say anything, I'm good.
Not for nothing, but the software now that you can have on your computer, be it a soundboard or OBS, like I'm running on this. Very simple to set up, and you can set up a keyboard so that, and you just set up these random sounds and even software on your phone, and it links to your computer, so that when someone gets the right question, you press it, a fanfare, a little video pops up. You know, because we can still do the stuff on the screens, so that the students can see it. But I think there's a lot of way to kind of gamify our lessons and make it a lot more fun. So they're like, oh, how can I get the kitten? How can we get the dancing kitten one?
Right, but that's the kind of PD I would want. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing I would be interested in, because the students, sometimes I had the students teach some lessons last year, and I said, you have to create a lesson for chapter 13 of Huck Finn. You have to teach it to me in a little group of 3 or whatever it was. And they were coming up with brilliant assessments, super creative competitions on websites I'd never seen before. And I'm like, where the heck did you get that from? And I'm playing along, and I'm talking trash. I'm going to beat you. I know all these answers. Like, it was really engaging. And I'm like, you're better at teaching than I am. And I've been doing this for years. And I'm just like, it's just, that's the kind of stuff that if you could take a step back, and if you allow yourself, you know, I want to do that with the morning announcements. Have like, like,
there's me. But you can. We can talk, and
but that's the kind of stuff that does raise morale in the classroom, and it does get students involved. Like, it's, you know, having conversations like this, you know, that are productive and like-minded people, and have passion towards things, and are at the same interest and end goal of helping the students. You know, there could be more of that too. And I think that's like going back to your point, Andrew, about surrounding yourself with the right people, because again, you know, if you think about the conversation that people are having around you, is it a positive one or is it a negative one? Is it making you feel better to be a participant of it? Is it make you feeling worse? And again, it's not about not liking the individuals, but just not wanting to be surrounded with that type of energy.
Oh yeah. You know, it's people are either going to fill you up or deplete you, and when you got you're constantly on, you got to be kind of. It helps to be positive and. You know, we got this, and look, this is what we're going to be able to touch on this year. Right. But you also got to put out the fires as and when they happen, and to spin on your heels quickly and handle those situations as and when they happen. But if you got someone that just drains the living daylights out of you because they're talking about silliness again, you know. I got to confess something.
A lot of times
Is that why you left the room so quick that day?
No. I've got to confess that it will exaggerate my own good mood just to tick people off. What's he so happy about?
Is that when you walked past me the other day? You said, "Captain," the big old grin on your face, "Captain."
No, I mean, I think there are people that find it fairly, for some reason, therapeutic to complain all the time, to always find fault. It's their thing. It's you know, they've taken on that persona. I guess they expect that of themselves, and they expect to come across that way, and that's that's their thing.
What is it? I mean, is it misery loves company, something like that? But I mean, it's true, right? I mean, I'm guilty of having done that as well. But over the years, one of the biggest pet peeves I've had about myself is, and I know a lot of us have done that, is when you hear yourself complaining, like that individual, like you hate to hear them complain the way that now you're, So it's even that alone is enough self-reflection, and it helps you kind of micro-adjust yourself over the years to not be that way.
Also, I think it pays to have friends and colleagues that will put you in your place.
Like call you out.
Call you, exactly. Like, where do you get off? You got a good point there.
But that's also a big part of how you're spending your time and who you're spending it with. Because I think a lot of those people who are complaining all the time are surrounded by people who are also complaining all the time. And that's just their relationship. It's oh my God, my kids again. Oh, let me tell you about how bad I have it. And let me one up you by telling you how bad I have it. And I think that's part of it. And for me, I am going to be that type of person to say, shut up, or if I know them well enough. And if I don't, I'll just walk away because I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's important to surround yourself with those kind of people within the family or within your friend group that'll just be like, listen, it's not that serious. And because sometimes people could be smart enough to recognize it in themselves, to just be self-reflective and be like, no, I can't. That's not important.
Yeah.
But if you don't, to be the type of person who's willing to accept that type of feedback, though, is important too. Because if you're someone who's just going to be delusional and say, I don't have any problems.
Right.
It's them, not me. It's them, not me. And then if someone says to you, no, it's you, chill out. No, now you're wrong. I'm cutting you off too. Like, because there's people like that who will just bulldoze you and say, no, it's my way, or we're not going to have a conversation. So you just kind of have to feel out the person and whether they're receptive to it. But true growth would come from someone who's receptive to the feedback, especially from ones who know them best and care about them.
That's why I'm so silly a lot of the time, to be honest. It's just, it's an easy out. It's an easy diffuser of a situation. You can be the one, that they're expecting you to say something stupid at some point, and I'll happily oblige. But, I think, again, like this podcast, we're all kind of able to be silly and goofy and serious and what have you. But yeah, to have a good group of friends around you that can argue another side, right? And they can argue another side, but you're not necessarily angrily disagreeing with them. You'll sit and you'll listen to them. But again, that's a whole nother social, emotional intelligence level of being. So yeah, I think that's one of the big takeaways and the biggest things that I've enjoyed working at the school is just the high level of conversation, thinking, and debating subjects that typically I don't get to talk about anywhere else.
Well, what I love about talking with you guys is that I've done this almost every podcast. Like you'll say something that just gets me thinking in a different direction. It takes me, I thought I knew what I was going to say, but then now I'm modifying it based on what you just said. So it's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. So what do you think, guys? It's let's see, 1 hour 11 minutes we've been live.
OT.
So
yeah.
So look,
Bonus.
so here's the situation.
That part.
It all recorded. It all went up. It all went up to, and we're still live. But
Watch what you say.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering.
What the?
I need a beep. I can do it like an audio beep.
Yeah, I want one of those.
I'm not sure whether it actually went live. So it's all recorded. It's all local. So all I'd have to do is upload it. So I just say, no, I'm not even going to worry about it. We kind of got a picture. Things need to be sorted. The funniest thing, I just turn on my camera. There's nothing else I do. It's a great image.
Yeah, I'm seeing it from here. Yeah.
So anyway, whatever. I don't know. It's just the way it worked out.
It's good to have people call you out. Guys, call them out on this.
She's so modest.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Is there anything else we're touching on? That's it. We're wrapping it up for today.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, wrap it up, Fred. So we're going to get some intro music, outro music. We're going to be all professional before you know it.
All right.
So thanks for tuning in, and we'll get this all kind of going live so that everyone knows about it down in time. But right now, we're just glad that the shows are getting out there. Thanks for watching, and
see you next time.
See you next time.